Friends, hello! We're back! Oh, it's so good to be back. Oh, may there be peace in all of your hearts as we enter this day, as we believe in ourselves and we tune in, and we're going to find another person today and see what their view is like, their worldview, how they see the world, their perception, how they mitigate the world's chaos. It's going to be a beautiful podcast, and I'm super excited. And what better people to share it with than you? Oh, it's a great day. Beautiful Tuesday day. It's a new moon, I think tomorrow at some point. So already starting to feel those vibes, and yeah, what a day to, do a podcast and then put it out into the world. So without further ado, I'm going to get started on some of the Patreon supporters that have come in recently. We have a new supporter in River City Studios. They reached out to me because I've been playing and recording with them for a while now with Why Not, and they just came to me and said, hey, we'd love to support the podcast. And I'm like, great, that's awesome. And I wanted to give them a shout out on air and say that they are an awesome studio. They have everything that you need, whether you're performing hip hop or recording like as a jam band or as a solo musician, whatever you need. They've been in the business for 40 years. They have all the top equipment. And I love working with the people there. The people is what really draws me there, is the relationships that I have there. And they'll work with you on whatever you need to get done. So if you want to hit them up for your recording needs, they're in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So yeah, if you're out just a little bit outside Grand Rapids, still I recommend going through them. And then my friend Joseph Lemieux is a blacksmith that creates knives. He does restoration work. He makes swords, any kind of metal work that you can think of. He's really good at being able to do those things. He's been in the business for 11 years. He knows what he's doing. And I just recently got a knife, not from him. Otherwise, I think I would be hitting him up for a knife, because I know he would do a really good job. He can do like inscriptions on there and stuff. So yeah, if you want to check that out, it's LemieuxSmithing.com. And how you spell Lemieux is a little funky, so I'll put that in the description below. And then we have Bedroom Ceilings, who's a band in Grand Rapids that decided to support the podcast. They do like folk rock. They're very experimental with their music. Ben Steer and Dean Chittenden. They've been doing work for about 2.5 years, maybe 3 years now. And they elicit the help of other musicians in the Grand Rapids area, and all the musicians in Grand Rapids are amazing. This music community is so talented, and Bedroom Ceilings is one of those bands that's really been doing the work recently and getting more defined, and their sound has vastly improved. They have multiple EPs and CDs. You can check them out at bedroomceilings.bandcamp.com. And yeah, with that being said, I'm really grateful for anybody that has been supporting this podcast so far. I'm really going into this blind. I did a little bit of research. I tried to get the right equipment and figure out how I can do this consistently. And it's just been a blessing. It's so cool to be able to just, all the conversations that I've had with people in person where it like you wish it was recorded because of how good the conversation was. That's part of why I'm doing this podcast. And this human that I'm about to bring on, I've had a lot of really good conversations with and memories with that perhaps now we'll be able to record it and put it on air and see, like, if something beautiful comes through, if something terrible comes through, that'll come through too. Whatever. We're in this together. So without further ado, Brett Kane is coming on the podcast. Brett Kane is venturing into body work. He is doing massage. He went to school for it, and he's working to develop a lot of different modalities of healing, being a yoga instructor, and finding out ways to help people process trauma and help people get to a place where they're more of a clear vessel for spirit to come through. And so I'm just so grateful for his work and his life, and I want to welcome to the podcast Brett Kane.
Hey, Tony. How's it going?
Oh, it's going well.
Good, man. I just want to say thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and actually have been listening to a couple episodes even today and yesterday, and I think you got a good thing going.
I'm trying. It's like we just, like, for the first, like, half hour that we were trying to set this thing up, my settings, like, I had my settings on a weird mode that didn't allow me to hear him, and then he couldn't hear me. So it's a work in progress, and you're gonna find those bumps in the road, but as long as you continue to push through and know that you're gonna suck at first, and eventually, you'll get a rhythm down. And I think we're starting to get to that point where we're working through the kinks, and then it's going to be smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, I think that that's like a really good stance to have, just acknowledging that when you first start something, you're probably not going to be as good at it as you will be in, say, a couple months, and it's through those, like, lessons that you end up, like, finding your way to, forge ahead. And, I'm kind of glad that it was with me that we were able to kind of work through those technical things, once you get some, like, bigger scale guests, I think, you'd be able to just judo flip that issue. And, yeah, I'm glad I was able to hold space for that and try and help. I felt so helpless on the other end. I want to help, but you Mac users, I don't know how you do it.
Oh, man. Yeah, the reason why I got a Mac is because of GarageBand, and when I was recording at my mom's house way back in the day, that was the best way to be able to record my stuff. It was just so user-friendly, and I could add some reverb on there, and I was like, oh, cool. Got it. Now I got a song that I have recorded. But yeah. So what are you up to lately?
Man, there's too much. The biggest thing on the forefront, I guess there's actually two. So thanks for asking. I just got licensed for massage therapy, like you said in that lovely introduction. So I actually have two places that I'm practicing out of, one of which I'm subbing in for a friend. She's getting a back surgery. So it's kind of weird because it's actually connected to the school that I went to. So there's kind of this weird serendipitous happening there where I'm already, like, really familiar with the plaza, and I get to work with someone else's clients and build my skills. So I don't want to advertise myself as something that I'm not. You definitely hit the nail on the head with the things that I'm interested in and pursuing with trauma work. That actually is, like, what got me into massage therapy, but I'm not there yet. So outside of that, I'm actually also starting a podcast as well. I guess it is now the time of everyone coming together and podcasting. So yeah, I'm actually really grateful to have this opportunity and to kind of, like, feel where I'm at, develop my radio voice, if you will. Yeah, so we can go down either of those paths if you want, or if you had something else you wanted to bring up.
How about the radio show voice?
All right, so you are now tuning in to Find the Others with Tony Guerin and Brett Kane. Yeah, we'll work on it. We'll work on it.
Well, you gotta have fun with it, you know. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
that's part of it, because if you're trying to be something like while you're a podcast host, then like
Hmm.
it's just gonna come off as on inauthentic, and
Yeah,
then people aren't
yeah,
gonna want to listen to you. So
yeah,
like I try to take the approach of like when I first get on the podcast, I I love Duncan Trussell, and I love how
yeah,
weird he gets. The first
yeah,
thing you hear is something really, really, really strange, and it
yeah,
gets you out of your comfort zone, or it gets you like just laughing immediately, even if you've had a bad day. And
yeah,
so that's really what I want to start doing with this podcast, is start to like break the ice in a way that like you don't have to listen to a lot of the bullshit that you hear on social media, or like whatever. Like come to this podcast and just like chill out and like work out, or like do whatever you do,
yeah.
and hopefully it can be something that's like fruitful for you.
Yeah. And something I noticed specifically with your podcast, from the previous episodes and listening in on your intro today, it's you, and I think that that's like a really beautiful thing is you're showing up authentically. And like, I heard it and it wasn't like, oh, Tony's doing a character. It's like, oh, Tony, and like feeling that sense of like kinship, I mean, because we have been friends for so long, but, I think, with already where you're at, your authentic voice is just like right then and there. And, um, even if it might be shaky sometimes, I think that it's just a better way to start things off and to like just be present with yourself and like give yourself the space to like kind of like do the dance, do the surf, and sometimes you fall off the board and sometimes you get back on. Um and I'm not saying you fell off the board by any means.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's really good that you know we are where we are. And yeah, I'm glad that you're not doing a character because you are a lovely human and you got a lot to offer just by being
Aw.
you.
Aw.
Yeah, as I'm sure many of your listeners are. I mean, I listened just today, the one with you and Nay, and they were, just being them, and I was just like, I love this human. Like, I know this human. Nice,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
but
I think that's the main point too. What I'm trying to do with the podcast is like it's just it's in the name. It's like tune in to who you
yeah,
are, and
yeah,
then find other
yeah,
people that are tuning into themselves. So possibly we can learn from each other's tuning in, like,
yeah.
and see how like we can kind of like collaborate on ways that we function in the world.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely important to first do the tuning into yourself.
Yeah.
Like I like to think of it, and I've had this experience. I mean, the fact that we've even met is kind of indicative of like you got to stabilize your frequency, and it's only when it's stable that you're able to. Oh, team viewers coming up, but it's once it's stable that you're able to actually start resonating with other people who've stabilized theirs. When
Mm,
you're not able to show up in like a concrete way in yourself, then you're always just going to be putting all these mixed match vibes out there, and
yeah.
it's you're just in the sea of chaos.
Yeah. Well, all right. Why don't you start off by just letting people know like what your goals are right now?
Yeah, so I guess it's been the same goal as it's always been. Just to primarily explore what it means to be a human. We're living in a very interesting time with a lot of different unique stressors that we have to face. And I think it requires a new kind of conversation that respects the wisdom of the ancestors and the technology of tomorrow and the friends of today. So I kind of come from a background of always kind of being on the outside of most things. And I never really like fully gotten into anything because I was always so interested in surfing everything. So kind of what got me to where I'm at is actually sitting down and making like a word web because I just like okay, I gotta settle into something. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, but not really a jack of much. So I made a word web, and it was just like I just wrote down all the different things that interested me. So I was like massage, yoga, breath work, nature, sustainability, community building, and it was just this huge thing. And I decided from there, like, okay, here are my interests. I have 20 to 30 terms. How do I want to start drawing these lines? And I found that the easiest lines to draw were the ones that were body work focused, things that affected physiology, opened people up psychologically, spiritually. Um, and that's when I kind of like over time honed in that like, oh, I think body work is the foundation that I'd like to build the rest of my practices on. So my goal right now is to keep practicing, and to build a unique practice that incorporates a lot of different modalities. Luckily, doors have just been like opening for me naturally. Like I don't have to exert myself, and I feel like that's how I know I'm kind of
Mm.
in the right groove.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm just I'm learning how the body works and how to produce longevity and vitality. Um, and first, I want to like really secure it in my own sphere and like know it, before I open all those other parts. I know massage well enough now, but with the yoga and the breath work, I definitely need some more time fermenting that. But that's definitely the trajectory that I want to go. Yeah.
That's so cool. How long did it take you to really come to that conclusion on body work?
Oh man, it happened pretty quick as soon as the dominoes started to fall. For a long time, I was kind of bashing my head against this idea of being a musician. I make electronic music as well, and I enjoy it, but there was always something about it that was kind of missing, and I just never knew. And I had this idea of myself, and I was holding myself to this standard that I don't even think I would have enjoyed had I met it. So it was actually last year for my birthday. I was out at Red Rocks in Colorado, seeing my favorite band, Papadosio, followed by the Polish Ambassador, which it like the stars aligned for that show. It was just incredible.
Wow.
And it was like my birthday, and I had all my good chaps there, and it was also their birthdays. Like there's like three of us that all had a birthday in the same 2 days. It was weird.
Holy crap.
Um, but I was under the influence of um, some medicines. I'll leave it at that. And I just like had this big like crack in that identity of musician where I was like, wait, if I took all of this energy I'm putting into this narrative and I put it into all of my other interests, I could have something really dope.
Mm.
So it was then, and then a matter of like 3, 4 months, I decided on massage therapy, and um, yeah, it happened pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean it's
Considering.
I could just say from knowing you and being friends with you, we don't talk every day, but
Right.
it seemed to happen so fast. Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden you just like showed up and you're like, "Well, I'm doing massage." And then like, "Oh, I'm starting school now." Like, "Oh, I'm done with school now." Like
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that's indicative of like finding your path. It's kind of the same thing with you in this podcast. I heard about it, and the next thing I'm like, oh, now I'm listening to it.
yeah.
And honestly, watching you and your music grow it was maybe one of the most inspirational things, because I first heard you play. I was just meeting you. It was at oh shoot, what was it called? Six Crows? Is
It
that the
could have
name of
been
it?
it could have been Six Crows, but I think I met you for the first time at Branch Out Camp Out.
Yeah, yeah. But I first really started to like share space with you at Six Crows, and
Yeah.
you like busted out your guitar, and I mean, you always had heart with it, but I was I was like, I could see where this is going to be growing, and like just in such a quick amount of time, because I
Mm.
don't think you were playing that long at that point. Um, but like over the course of like a year, you were just like you're playing shows all the time.
Mhm.
So it's like I think as soon as you find your path, it unfolds. You don't have to exert any effort. Not to dismiss all your hours of practice, but I'm sure there's a sense of it that it was easy for you.
No, I think you're right. You reach a point where you reach those 10,000 hours or whatever it is,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
just it's automatic. You
yep,
know,
yep,
you still have to tune into the moment. You still have to tune into what your energy is, exerting itself as, or like just processing as. And that makes a difference in how you output that in like in the moment in wherever whatever space you're existing in. But
yeah,
still, when you've hit that stage a number of times to the point where it doesn't even phase you anymore. Um, like I used to be so scared to be in front of crowds. I used to be so nervous to play in front of people. And there's times that I still feel that a little bit. Um, but it's nothing in comparison to, like, I feel like now I could realistically go in front of 1,000 people or 2,000 people and I would be the same as I am right now.
Wow.
And that, I think that's a part of what you're talking about, is you do the work enough times to where it becomes almost automatic,
Yeah.
and you're just there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the element of questioning it is kind of gone. I feel like
Yeah.
there's kind of like a doorway that you have to cross. Like if you're like standing outside, just kind of like, I don't know if I still really want to do this, then like, like once you get through that door, it completely changes, and once it is no longer a question, then you're able to like allocate more of your energy and you're not investing energy in fighting yourself because and like it just is. It's like it's as natural as like the flock of birds migrating, it's
Mm.
they know how to stay. They're not fighting, it's what's happening,
Yeah.
you know. But you got to get through that door,
Yeah. But I wanted to, send you some appreciation for, like, that reflection that you just, gave to me, cuz
Yeah.
it's honestly been um a lot of it's been a huge journey for me to figure out, like, how to consistently and organize, like, musical output, and that recognition makes me feel on top of the world. So, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you so much as a friend and as a brother. It's like really doing the work in their life too. Like, walk into your room the other day, when you gave me a massage, and the whole room just energetically felt balanced.
Mm.
It felt like I was walking into, like, almost like a Zen center. You know what I
Wow.
mean? And that, like, that's always a sign to me of someone that's, like, really dedicating to their energetic craft.
Well, thank you for saying that. It's funny because as you're saying that, I'm looking at the inch of dust that's on my computer. Like, oh yes, that is totally. Oh, let's not look at that there. But I do appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I didn't think that. Oh, I guess I could have predicted this podcast would turn into just a love puddle. I just appreciate you, man. Oh, I appreciate you too. Sorry, guys. It's just what it is.
Well, let's turn the focus to the next 5 years, because you said
Yeah.
that you said you want to eventually turn this into something like a trauma therapy direction, where you really, like, helping people process things to allow them to be, a clear vessel. What does that look like for you?
So with the trauma work, while it is a major driver in my life, I would maybe say that that's more of a 10-year thing. I think within the next 5 years, what I'm looking at is I'm going to be really honing in on my craft and expanding the modalities, really understanding the physiology of that body work offers because it's very intimate and, in my opinion, sacred space. And there's just so much to learn. So what I want to do in the next 5 years is create an embodiment coaching kind of situation where I can sit on a one-on-one, have either weekly or monthly meetings, depending on how they want. And I can help people not just through massage, but through self-care techniques, help them fully embody themselves. So I feel like once I do that work enough to where I'm helping people increase their rate of bodily awareness, free up energy, like clear stagnation, not in like a, not to discredit a lot of other professions, but in a very palpable way that is you can't argue with it. Once I start getting that skill set down and have that toolkit, that's when I'm going to go into trauma therapy. But first, I really want to understand even just like regular psychology. Well, I don't want to say psychology because I'm not a psychologist and that's out of scope, but I want to be able to understand how to help people get into a better state of flow who aren't dealing with trauma so that when
Mm.
I get into the trauma work, um, then I'll at least know how to go from baseline to deeper levels of embodiment. So it's kind of like a continuum. Um, but that, I mean, that is the overarching goal is I want to be able to help people who are disconnected from their bodies find a sense of wholeness within themselves, because I think as a society, that's where we're at. We are a society of trauma, and until we address those, I think it starts at the individual.
Yeah.
And yeah, until I personally understand the individual road from trauma to wholeness, I'm not gonna anything I offer to the collective, at least from my standpoint, is gonna be botched because I don't know the individual path, you know?
Right.
And I think there are a lot of analogs. So for me, it's this entire cosmology of individual in relation to societal and the planet, you know? For me, the end goal of this past trauma is reconnecting with the planet. You know, it's creating open channels for the human vessel to be able to be in harmony. You know, we are of the planet, yet we are acting in ways that is very against the planet. So for me, I had to find a starting point because there's so many different variables and aspects to dive in on. So I'm like, well, I'm going to dive in with myself, like, you know, the most core experience that I can have, which is my direct experience. And then once I get that going in myself, then at least I can help other people. Once I help other people, then I can help people who like are air quote unhelpable by a lot of other standards of care.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you can only do that work once you've established that within yourself. Once you've figured out modalities or ways to address your own trauma or address your own uh, like energetic levels when it flows throughout the day. Just like how I told you after I figured out the settings on my computer and how to get the audio right, I was like, you know what? Like we're starting to record the podcast, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a 10-minute break because I don't think my energy is at a point that it can do this podcast efficiently, and I feel so
Yeah.
much better now, and it feels way more like I don't know. It feels way more free than if I would have just like pushed through and continued.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so
And
I, yeah,
I was gonna say, and I can see that within you that you do have a greater sense of self-awareness and that you were able to pause and like, yo, my energy's kind of scattered right now. And I was actually really glad that you did that. You know, I'd rather you do that than to kind of just like truck along, even though like you weren't able to like feel yourself, you know? And yeah, a lot of people don't have that sense of knowing when they're in harmony or not.
well, I think it comes to a point of like I think people feel like they have the obligations to other people or other things um like I think capitalism kind of works into that as well. Um like people will go so hard at their job that they will neglect their own health, their own
Yeah.
mind,
Yeah.
which is their health too, and basically like prevent themselves from being happy or prevent themselves from like getting through what they need to get through before they can actually be a productive worker for
Yeah.
that industry, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize that capitalism isn't just an economic system, but it's also a psychology. And it's a psychology that puts capital ahead of human welfare. So
It's a
yeah, I
really
think
good
that
way to put it.
yeah, I think you're really hitting the nail on the head. Whereas I think there is a more I don't think capitalism is inherently evil. I think there are ways, I mean, and this is a big part of my platform is like 21st century vitalism. It's like, let's take what we have right now and work with that energy in a way that we can go forward rather than like rewrite it. Like, let's fix the parts that don't work. And yeah, I think a part of that is like understanding that capitalism is an aspect of life. It's not all of life. And frankly, you can't even interact with it in a holistic, sustainable way unless you do the self care to like bolster yourself. Otherwise, it becomes your god, you know,
Yeah.
and that's just not a healthy spot to be. It's not natural.
Yeah.
It's a tool, but it's yeah,
Yeah. And I think you're right in that disconnection with nature that we have. And it's part of why like I put like for the logo, there's you got mushrooms on there, you got the earth, you got like the sun behind it. It's like we aren't able to truly do the things that we want to do in life if we aren't connected to the earth and we aren't connected to our food.
Yeah.
And there's so much of our society that is just packaged by corporations that like we could just give them our doll hairs and
Yeah.
just get the thing, but we don't see the we don't see the cost. We don't really see the true cost of doing that in that way. And I've been loving living with my new roommate Connor, who's a part of my band. Why not? And he and I have been cooking a lot recently. Like all of the food that we've been making or that we've been eating outside of when we've been cooking is all just like leftovers that's like thrown together, and we like mix it up and put some different things in there to make it different. But it's been so wholesome to have that connection with my food to where I'm not having to go out and just like buy stuff. And I got into that habit during quarantine. I would just like, you know, like I felt like I like just wanted to go out to like go out to like Meijer and just like get something or like whatever. And like when things opened up, I was like, at least to some level, I was buying like takeout from what was it, like Mai Tai, like
Dude, I hit that up so much.
almost every day.
Yeah.
And it drained my finances, and I'm like, damn, like I can't be doing that. And I'm just grateful, like now that I feel a better connection with the earth. I went to the farmers market the other day, and that like it's just so beautiful there, and there's so many farmers and so many people that are just like so grateful to have that opportunity to sell their stuff. And I also at this point I wanted to check in with you because I know you said that you had a friend that you're looking to link up with.
Yeah.
How's that looking right now?
Honestly, I could go for a little bit longer. I feel like we're in a pretty good click here, and I already communicated to them that probably go a little bit longer. So, yeah, I mean, if you still got time, I still got some time, but if you don't got time, then I don't got time either.
Oh, all right, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. What about music? Like, you have a backlog of music that I witnessed the other day when I came over. How has that been flowing for you since going into bodyworking?
So it's been a very interesting relationship. Me personally with music, it kind of comes and goes. And for me, I've kind of taken a big lesson in just kind of like allowing it to be a hobby. I feel like there's kind of a stigma against pursuing an art form as something that isn't going to make you money. I feel like we always tend to like push it to the biggest possible outcome that we can. But like for me, music is kind of just an outlet when I have time to express. With body work, as soon as that came up, it definitely changed. I wasn't putting nearly as much time into it, but at the start of quarantine, definitely was doing stuff a little bit every day. But yeah, I enjoy my relationship with it where it's at. I'll get on, make some fart noises, and put it to a drum beat. Um, for those of you who don't know, I do electronic music, um, and I'm really glad that I have all the skills that I do with it. I'm pretty adequate at using Ableton Live. So if my future projects, I'm always gonna have myself as a sound engineer. So I don't think anything was for naught, but I'm casual with it. Honestly, I think that that's what it's kind of settled in my life. I think in terms of like what I'm finding important and what I'm naturally being drawn to. Um, it's interesting because it was a big part of my identity, and I really wanted to make something out of it. And I thought that that would be my ticket to help people because it's helped me. I mean, music has saved my life so many times, and I just wanted to give that to other people. But I realized that like I actually think I have something else that maybe wouldn't be best channeled while sitting in a studio for 8 hours a day every day. So it's kind of taken a back seat. And it honestly feels really good to like be able to say that, oddly enough. 'Cause yeah, a lot of people, you know, don't want to, once they invest so much psychic energy into something, it to a lot of people can feel kind of demeaning to be like, well, I guess I'm just done doing that. Not that I'm done, but like it feels good to kind of like the Tower tarot card, just like have that part of my life kind of topple over, and just kind of change form. So now it's like a friend, it's like a meditative tool. I'll probably release stuff as time goes on, but for now, it isn't my main focus, really. But thanks for asking, though. I mean, you've always been a strong supporter. Every time I show you something, you're like, dude. So, like, I appreciate that.
Dude, I love it. I love your
Yeah.
music.
Thanks.
When you said the Tower, you can't hear it, but I played there's this thing called no.com. It's from Star Wars Episode 3 when Anakin becomes Darth Vader and he goes no, and so it's a button, you just click it.
Yeah.
It says press in dire situations. So.
The Tower. Yeah. I think oh man, I'm never gonna see that card the same now. Shoot.
But yeah, every time you've shown me something from your music, it's been so good. And so what is that called again? Cricket?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's the moniker.
And
Little body, loud voice.
You don't have a SoundCloud for it, do you?
Nope, not right yet. I have the name reserved.
Nice.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, look out for that, everybody, because honestly, everything that I've heard has been really top notch. Like I would almost compare it to Tipper in a lot of ways. I know that's
but
I know that's weird to hear. But I honestly enjoy it in that same vein. So
thank you for saying that. That means a lot.
Yeah. So now we're at the spot where we're like, where do we go from here? What's going to happen?
Go. That's a really wonderful spot. The liminal nothingness that
yes.
we all kind of float on.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, if it wasn't a pure audio-based platform, I would say like we could just do an eye-gazing meditation. But I don't think we can do that right now. I think you're doing a great thing here. I think from my understanding from the guests you've had, it seems to be a very community-oriented affair. And, I'm glad that you kind of brought me into the family. I know you're doing the Project Bring Me to Life network, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think I'm just going to rep them. It's not the choice that I'm going with my podcast outlet, but I see the work that they're doing and I think it's incredible. And I think for all of you out there listening, give it a listen. I think they got some cool things going.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a big joy to be able to work with them and to feel into like how to get started and ask questions. And I really think that it's going to take off and be a really good, like there's a segment called Afternoon with the Dudes.
Dudes.
And it's Ashton, me, CeeLo, and there's like 4 other people that I've like just met, and they're so amazing. Like they're so they have such a knowledge of masculine and feminine energies, and like how the masculine has how toxic masculinity has kind of just I don't even know what to say. Like it has just been a constant in Western culture that like has caused both like all genders to suffer, really. And we are gonna do another podcast, I think, on the 1st, but we did one about a month ago that was absolutely amazing, and it was so cool to be a part of.
So it's essentially a virtual men's circle type of deal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. And I mean, I know some of the people who are involved in that project, so that'd be a lot of fun to listen in on. And definitely with my own endeavors, see myself as a I guess, spiritual partner to that. Hopefully, they'll accept me in a distanced way. um, yeah, I personally, with where I was coming at it, and it's weird because like I'm friends with everybody on the network, but a big part of like me going into this world myself was like kind of just like rugged isolation. Not really that. I don't know if that's accurate, but like I wanted the opportunity to like do the marketing and like learn the infrastructure and learn how to host and like how to, and I mean, yeah, getting help is an amazing thing and I think serves different aims and stuff, but um yeah, I kind of wanted to just like trailblaze in my own way and then maybe I could even like feed into that stream and still support each other. And I think if we can, I mean, so many people are starting podcasts right now. Like I
Mm-hmm.
literally know like 5 people um in the past like month that are like I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And hell yeah, that's like what I gotta say. I feel honestly, I think everybody should have a podcast. um, Only for the sake of like, that's when you put yourself the pedal to the metal on yourself. Like how well do you really know yourself unless you are
Yeah.
in this allows us to articulate and communicate and absorb each other's knowledge. It
Yeah.
forces this container where we're like really with each other.
Yeah.
I'm not on my phone. I don't think you're on yours. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. I'm about to record with Gordy
Nice.
pretty soon. But it was one of those things where like I get it. Like I like basically the reason I started doing this was because I needed to expose myself. Like I needed to get myself in that flow and be comfortable just flowing, just
Yeah.
continuously, like for a long period of time. That's when the best conversations come through, is when you just like you're just in it for so long that you're like, okay, you settle in, and then the real stuff starts rising to the surface.
Yeah.
And that content, I think, can be really powerful for people to hear. And it may not be conversations that they hear in their immediate circles.
Right.
Maybe they're with a partner that doesn't ask them questions that are very deep, or maybe it's a friend that you've been hanging out with that like just drinks booze all day and doesn't know any differently, and doesn't know
Yeah.
how to like address their own like mental model, or like how their perception, their perceptual apparatus, like they whatever. It's
Yeah.
I think that's part of what can be really helpful um, about these podcasts, and I'm really appreciative of you jumping on this and helping me out.
Yeah. I mean, whatever I can do from my limited capacity from where I'm at. I think what's really cool is the expanded network that we're about to start seeing as everybody, we all have different inspirations and different people that we want to shine a limelight on. So as we're all doing this all together, we're all having kind of a shared conversation because now you and me are interacting. I'm sure me and Ash, someone else will be interacting. Other people who are doing things, like now we have this just expanded network, and I think we could really like expand the conversation. And I think that that's a good thing, especially for now, and especially in the very tense social fabric that we find ourselves in. I think the more we meet in this shared flow state, uh, you know, it goes back to the wellness practice that I'm trying to push.
That's where love comes in.
That's where love comes in, man. Between people, it's not they give you love. It's you meet in that space together, and this is a form of
Yes.
love.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Um, in light of what you said about the chaoticness of the world or whatnot, if you had one thing to share with the world, what would it be?
Start breathing with your belly. There's this thing called diaphragmatic breathing, which is really simple, and it allows you a direct doorway into your nervous system. So your diaphragm is a muscle that is underneath your lungs, and it's actually the prime muscle in respiration. So when you breathe with your belly as opposed to your chest, you're actually increasing the thoracic cavity, the one where your lungs are in. You're allowing more air in, and you're actually driving the air down deeper into your belly. So you're actually able to get more oxygen into more space in your body, and it actually affects your parasympathetic nervous system, which is relaxation. So you can just take a very deep breath. I'll do one right now. Expand your belly rather than breathing into your chest. Let's begin. I'm only going to do the one. You get the point. I think once we start breathing with our bellies, we're able to, it's a statement. It's, I know how I want to feel, and I'm going to take the action to feel that way. You become less reactive. You're able to have better conversations. You're able to be more present. And that's what the world needs, is more presence, more compassion.
Well, Brett Kane, you are a present to me.
You're a present to me.
And through this podcast, I've opened you up and you've opened me up. And we are enjoying each other's presence.
Yeah. You're one of those presents I would like sneak into my mom's room, into her closet, and like look like a couple weeks early. Like, oh, she got me a Tony Guerin. Heck yeah.
Limited edition.
Yeah. Oh, God, we got to get him fed, though. What's he doing in the closet? Yeah.
Brett Kane, you're amazing.
Tony, you're amazing. Thank you for the opportunity, man. I really appreciate it.
Likewise, my dude. We are on it. We are off to the races. Everybody, I wish you a lovely day. Get after it. Let's change the world for the better.
Right on. Bye, guys. You end the recording?
No, we're still going, but we're listening to the music now.
Here we are. Oh,
yeah, here we go. It's all good. It's all good. Here we go.